Today we're going to be discussing what it means to prepare for settlement when it comes to property management. Welcome, Brooke. Brooke from Motion Property joins us. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. We have so many things to cover today. And the idea is to provide as much information and set expectations to people that are going to be settling soon. So maybe we kick off with inspections. So can you just give us a bit of an overview on your recommendations when it comes to inspections?
Yes. So leading up to settlement, you'll be given some defect inspectors' details. Very important to have a defect inspection and always to make sure that they're getting sent over to the developer so we can get those things cleared up for you prior to settlement. Now, we can assist you with organising it. Obviously, you will always send over the recommendation, but we can assist with access with developers and getting people through. So the idea will be that leading up, the inspection will be booked. We always like to attend these inspections, not only just for photography and to see the property, but also so we can give you feedback once we've been as well. So we will organise all of that and book all of that and always have a follow-up inspection that happens after settlement.
So I'm going to recap. There's two very important things here. If they let you know, you can do photography simultaneously whilst the inspector is there. So you're doing two things at once, yes. Right? Because usually they only give you one access before settlement. And the second thing that you just mentioned is the recommendation is always to book two inspections, because once you submit the first round of defects pre-settlement, no one will send you proof that things have been repaired. So you also, when you buy brand new, you have the opportunity of doing a second inspection whilst people are already living in it and to pick up new defects. So it's good to do that and simultaneously confirm that whatever was picked up in the first inspection has been addressed.
Has been done. And I think it's important to note as well, when you get the inspection report, their job is to create a sea of blue tape.
Yes.
That is their job and no one needs to freak out. That is what they're there for and it means that they've done their job right. So there will be a lot of niggly things. Some might be paint defects, really small things, but that's what you want.
That's a great point, because also as you're settling, let's call it a site that has quite a few different townies or units, that needs to be organized with a bit more time. And what that means is probably the developer will be working on painting and putting things inside till the very last day before settlement. So if you're doing this inspection 2.5, 3 weeks before settlement, that means that you should expect for a lot of things to not be finished, especially last coat of paint and things like that. So I know it's normal to freak out, yes. But I purchased, my first property was an established property, and I was so glad that the person who did the inspection told me, give me a call. And he's like, my role is to send every defect, but even if there is like pages and pages of defects, I think this is a great property, he told me. And that's the thing, don't freak out.
Don't freak out. That is not the time to freak out. They've done their job and that's exactly what you want. You want to see blue tape.
Awesome. And we're talking specifically brand new property, and usually brand new property comes turnkey, but there's one thing that might not be there depending on the vendor, and that is blinds.
Blinds, yes.
So how do you go about it?
Yeah, so a lot of the time blinds won't be included with a build. It's just the way that, that it is standard. Yeah. It is what it is and that's fine. And we have trades that we can assist with getting access and making sure that we can get a quote in prior to. So again, with that inspection with the defect inspector, let's get as much done as we can prior to settlement. So we're not starting after settlement and we're behind the 8 ball. So let's do that, get them in, they'll measure, get a quote, and normally it's a 7 to 10 day turnaround time. And
that's a really good turnaround time.
It's a very good turnaround time. So we've got a really good blinds installer. So let's get them in there, get it organized, and it's one less thing for you to worry about.
That's awesome. So again, making the most of that one time that you can go in before settlement. You then got pre-settlement inspection done, you got the on-site photos done, and you got the blind measured.
Exactly.
The measurement.
So we've done as much as we can before the property actually starts costing you money.
Awesome. Perfect. And then there's the insurance. So depending on the type of property you're purchasing, the building insurance might be something that the purchaser has to organize or the owner's corporation organizes. If it's, for instance, units in an apartment, right? But that's not the only insurance that it's important. We both recommend landlord's insurance. Let's talk about that then.
So landlord's insurance is definitely something that we recommend to absolutely everyone. It's a very small amount. It's about $317 for the year.
For the year? Again, it could vary. It could go up to $500 per year, but it's worth your while.
Either way, it is worth your while. Yeah. So that will cover you for things like rental loss by tenant, malicious damage, accidental damage, especially now pet damage, because in Victoria especially, it's very hard to say no to pets.
Yes.
So making sure that you've got that insurance in place, that if it does come to your renter having a pet or putting in an application for a pet, you've got peace of mind that you're covered. Correct. So we can assist with organising that, whether it's just the landlord insurance component, and that's more for your apartments and anything covered under an owner's corporation.
Yeah.
If we need to get building insurance, we can also help with that through the company that we're with as well. So we can get you quotes for that. They're really reasonably priced. And again, it's peace of mind, right?
Yeah, and just a note on the building insurance part, you won't be able to settle because the banks won't release a mortgage without you having building insurance, right? Like the banks want to make sure that their money is safe and they're covered. Yeah. So again, if there's owner corporation paying for building insurance, that's something that usually it's shared through the conveyancers. The vendor's conveyancer will share the insurance with the purchaser's conveyancer. But if you are buying, for instance, a house and there's no owner's corporation and you need to organize yourself the full insurance, you will need to start that insurance a couple of days before settlement, right? Yes. And the bank will ask that you put as an interested party the name of the bank, really. Yes. So that's just a detail. Yes. Awesome. Let's now talk about bills and redirecting bills to your property manager.
Yes. So something that we include in our service, and it's really, we want to take as much off our clients as possible, and that's what we're there for. We're there to help them manage the property, and we really want them to be able to set and forget, because in the end, that's what you pay property managers for. So part of what we do and what's included in our service is that we can redirect your council, your water rates, and your owner's corporation, if applicable, those bills to come to us. It just means that it's one less admin task for the clients to do, but it also means that at the end of financial year, you get one really clean statement that says, this was your income, this is the deductions, and you give that to the accountant and say, there you go, thanks so much. And you're not sifting through things.
A few comments from my side. First one is, I have properties outside of Victoria, and some property managers don't include that. It's like it's an extra charge, so it's great that you offer it as part of your service. And the other thing, just to set expectations with someone who's a first-time purchaser in Australia, is usually the first bill will come to your address. So when, I cannot say, but essentially the council will use the information that the conveyancer filled for your own address at settlement, and that's where you're going to start getting the bills. So usually it could take a few months.
It sometimes takes a few months, and at that point we'll always say, if the bill comes to you, send it to us. We'll follow up the redirection and enter the bill for payment.
And there's one bill that cannot be redirected, which is the land tax.
Land tax, yeah. So we're still happy to pay that, but it just needs to be sent to us. They won't redirect those bills to us.
Okay, so it will go to the owner, and the owner can send a photo or scan it or whatever, and you'll pay it. Okay, perfect, awesome. Then a very important part of the settlement is, okay, we've settled, congrats, and potentially the day after, or depending when it happens, a couple of days after, you can collect keys on behalf of the purchaser.
Yes.
Now, of course, to be able to collect keys, the purchaser needs to notify you that they've settled. And this is a really important piece of information, because some people assume that magically you'll know, and actually your mortgage broker might know and your conveyancer might know, but you don't know until someone tells you.
The person that needs to know doesn't know. Yes, yes.
Okay, so first things first, the purchaser needs to notify you, hey, we've settled, please collect the keys. And then let's talk about how that process goes.
Yeah, so once we're notified of settlement, we will then arrange with the developer or whoever it is that has the keys, whether it's on site or not, to go and collect your keys. Yes. Now, we'll go and collect the keys, bring them back to the office, and it just means then that we can start our inspections. And the good thing is that because we will have got photos taken at the defect inspection, the ad's already up online, we've already started generating inquiry, so it means that pretty much the day after, we can start doing inspections.
These inspections are not pre-settlement inspections. Yes. This is just potential tenants
Potential tenant.
inspecting the property to move into.
Yes, correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And something that depends on the vendor is whether or not the purchaser needs to sign some sort of agreement letting you collect on behalf of them, right? Like it depends.
Correct. It just depends. So sometimes they'll send you something leading up to settlement that'll say, if you have someone collecting keys on your behalf, please send through this form and fill it out.
There's a form. I've had to complete a form a few times. Yeah.
Depending, sometimes it's just them saying CC in your property manager. And then that's how we'll go and get it. So it just depends, but you'll know leading up to once you've got the correspondence that comes in from the developer or the builder.
Perfect. Awesome. And then let's talk about setting the correct expectations as to how long it takes to secure a tenant. Because sometimes you might be lucky, but the first rent usually takes a bit longer.
It does. And especially as well, if you're in a pocket where there's multiple apartments that have settled at once or townhouses or whatever it is, a lot of the time, if you're getting a house and land package or an apartment, there's going to be others that are settling at the same time.
Yes.
So the best thing to do is prepare for the fact that you may be vacant for it a little longer. The first lease is the hardest push.
Yeah. And a few call to actions, like if you're settling last week of December and Christmas is coming, that's an impossible time, right? Like, so like it's a really, really hard time. So no one wants to settle then, but sometimes it's out of our control.
Yes, exactly. So sometimes it's the timing as well. And we had settlements on, I think, the 19th or 20th of December.
Yeah, it was hard.
And it was hard. And whilst we were still open, because we want to make sure that we're still opening.
People are on holidays.
People are on holiday. Nobody wants to be moving. Moving's horrible in its own right, let alone doing it at Christmas time.
Yeah.
So it always will take that little bit longer. But I think making sure that we've got the photos early to have that lead up time to then already know if we're priced correctly, because we'll know within 5 days if we're priced correctly from inquiry and everything else. But the first lease always will take a little bit longer. I always say it's nice to allow for sort of 4 weeks, 5 weeks sometimes for outer suburb properties. But yeah, just making sure that the expectation is set that as much as we'd love to have it done for you in 3 days, the first one, when there's multiple, the market has to absorb the stock. Correct. So it always is a little bit longer. And
something that I always bear in mind, no matter where my properties are, is that winter is slower to rent than summer. And so, for instance, when we talk length of lease, standard nowadays makes sense 12 months, right?
12 months for
So what I've been telling people from my own personal experience is, if, for instance, my 12 months are due in May or June, instead of, and I know that the market has run and rents have increased, I usually wait till spring of summer to then say, okay, we're going to bring the rent up, because if the tenant doesn't want and they're like, no, we're moving out if you're putting the rent up, I much rather be doing inspections for new tenants in a nicer weather. Which makes it easier to secure a new tenant.
Exactly. And I think as well, that's something that us as property managers will lead you on. That's what we're there for. So a lot of the time, especially if it's not just if it's the, colder months or anything. I mean, no one wants to go out in the Melbourne winter.
No.
But
it's the nature, and it happens in every market.
It does. So what we'll have a look at is, for one, and go, how many properties are available around us? Because in Victoria, even if the tenant doesn't re-sign after the 12 months, it doesn't mean that they're leaving. They still have to give their 28 days notice. They roll onto a periodic lease, so it just means they roll month to month. So they're still in the property. They still have to give you notice. They're not just leaving tomorrow because the lease is ending. But we'll have a look and go, right, in this area, there is 40 properties that are available that have come to market. Saturated. Yeah. So let's wait until they lease, and then let's look at a rent increase in 2-3 months' time, because the market will have stabilized by then, and we can have a look and go, right, this is what we need to be doing. We can increase to this much now because we don't have as much stock available. So that's where we will sort of always guide and say, this is what we recommend. Obviously, it's an open conversation. We want the clients to tell us exactly what they're wanting as well. But really having a look and going, is it the right time to be increasing even though the rent increase is due, or do we wait 2 more months and then do it, knowing that we're increasing at a better time of year?
I have a property that a month ago, the property manager said, hey, I think you can increase rent. And we're like, you know what? even if I always like making the most of my properties, etc., I was like, you know what, I'm happy with these tenants, and I'd rather, like, I had 2 other properties and tenants at that point in time. I was like, I don't think I can cope with a third one. So I told her, you know what, I don't want to be greedy this time. I'm trying to rent the other 2. I'm happy to wait. Now, one of my learnings, because I wasn't aware of this, I thought that you always had to resign for another 12 months. And then I found out, I was like, hey, the tenants for this other property took the rent increase and they're happy, but they don't want to sign again for 12 months. They're happy to stay on a month. And I wasn't happy because I was like, oh, I can see them living in winter. And I was like, I wish I could renew, but there's nothing I can do really.
There's nothing that you can do. So a lot of the time people will remain on a month-to-month or periodic lease, and it's just because in their minds they're going,
More freedom.
more freedom.
I've had 7 years of month on month.
Correct. So they'll stay for years to come, but for them it's just the idea of more freedom. The 28 days notice is there when I want it. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to leave, and it's not a time to freak out. Like, a lot of the time they will just stay on and there's no issues. So it is quite common.
And then let's discuss the tenant application process.
So we do things a little bit differently, and we do it for a reason.
Okay.
So what we were finding years ago when we were doing sort of leasing in projects or wherever it was that we were going to clients and saying, how exciting, we've got you a tenant, this is who they are, they're wanting to move in on this day, and clients were going, great, that's fantastic, I'm so excited. And people being people change their mind.
Yes, a lot.
So you may get 4 of those good news emails from us saying, we have a tenant for you and blah, 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 and you get your hopes up. And then they either pull out or choose another option or choose to stay where they are. So it just means that for the way that we do it now, which is if I look at the application or our team look at an application and go, this is a good one, and we can tell rental reference checks, bank balance checks, employment checks, everything's there. If we can look at it and go, we're going to recommend this to our clients, we'll get them to pay a fully refundable deposit.
Okay.
And what that means is
There's a commitment.
there's a commitment, and it just means if you're not happy, that's okay. But we're coming to you with someone that's put in a commitment to say, hey, I really want this property, and we're not getting your hopes up multiple times over. And it's like they're ready to go.
Awesome.
Basically signing on the dotted line. If you're not happy for any reason, that's okay. We can refund it. But if we're coming to you with it, we highly recommend taking it.
Awesome. And this brings me to the topic of communication expectations, because there's all sorts of personalities out there, and some people love hearing from you every day.
Correct.
And you have a lot of clients, right? So it's not a realistic expectation that you'll call them every day, really. So how do you usually go about it?
So with our updates, you'll always receive a weekly update from us. Normally it's via email, but I also know that that's not the way that everyone likes to be communicated with. I also like picking up the phone and having a conversation because I'm a talker. So at the start, we really want to know what your communication style is. So we will always say, look, expect a weekly update. If there's anything in between, like an application comes in or there's something exciting to tell you, we'll let you know. So it may be more, but we want you to call us. So if, we'll be saying to you, how do you prefer to be communicated with? If it's phone call, perfect. We'll pick up the phone and give you a call and give you that update. But it's really working together and working out what everyone's communication style is, because some people are time poor and an email is just easy or a text is easy to go, yep, perfect, good to know that we had 3 people through. So really at the start, it's looking and going, this is what we do, but if you want more, let us know and this is how we're going to do it.
Yeah, and sometimes there's very little to discuss. I've received so many of these emails where they're sending me a weekly update. It's like, hey, I don't know, 5 people had signed up to go to the inspection, and then only 1 showed up. And they said they were interested, but we've been chasing and they haven't applied. So there's not much else to say really after that. It's like, cool, we'll wait to the next inspection really. There's not much. Now, to me, if I've had that 1, 2, going into a 3rd week is like, okay, am I willing to slightly lower the rent? And then that's a conversation to be had. That there's something to discuss if we're like, okay, just for this first rent and for the sake of getting someone in, am I willing to put the rent down? And I've done it plenty of times as well. And it's only for a short period of time and then you just update.
And that's it. And even with anything to do with rent and needing to bring down the rent, and sometimes you have to. For whatever reasons, the inquiry's not there, the best thing to do is bring it down slightly, because in the end it's costing you more money to sit there vacant than the $15 to $25 a week drop.
Yes.
So those conversations will always be over the phone. We make sure that we have those over the phone, and we will give you our whys and our reasonings, and then it'll be put into an email to say, as discussed, we're making the rent adjustment of this much. So those will always be conversations that are had over the phone.
Yeah.
But in the way of standard updates, they'll come through email, but it's nice at the start to have a conversation and go, how do you like to be communicated with? And then set the expectation that it's like, I want you to call us, and yes, you've said that you want phone calls. Perfect. That's how we're going to speak to each other.
And how do routine inspections work?
So with the first routine inspection, for any tenancy, the first routine inspection's at 3 months, and then every 6 months after that. Now we go in with, we've got amazing software and cameras and everything else, so you'll feel like you're in the property when you get the report. So we'll go in, take all of our photos, do 360 tours as well, and it just gives you a play-by-play of exactly how the property's looking. If there's anything to discuss in the way of maintenance or whatever it is, if it's a builder's issue, we'll go straight to the builder and say, just so you know, this is what we've done, but otherwise you'll get those reports. So the first one's at 3 months, and then every 6 months thereafter.
I had a surprise in the last 12 months. I had a brand new property, and I was due for my second inspection. And in this particular case, the first inspection was after 3 months, someone moving in. And one of the things that surprised me was there were plants already in the roof, right? I was like, this is a brand new property. How? The thing was, it needed a trim, and I didn't know it, right? Like the plants were too on top. And so I was like, is there something wrong? Why are there plants? So I called the inspector, and the inspector told me, Tiffy, don't waste your money paying me again. If you're after something structural, I've already checked before and there is no sense. The property was in a really good shape when I checked it the first time. And if the tenants haven't complained about anything, there's not much. I'd much rather you spend the money trimming and removing like the leaves and everything that has fallen on top of the, and I was like, cool, this makes sense, right? So there's gonna be those things that happen even when you have a 3-month-old property, right? Like
it just comes up. So it's for anything like that, if there's something that we think that needs to be done, it will be in the report.
Awesome.
Whether that's with balconies that are a pod system now, making sure that the drains are cleaned every 6 months.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And I've had to clean drains in brand new established, and these are the things we did an episode not that long ago about routine maintenance, right? But even like clearing the aircon filters. Like there's things that you need to do, just like you won't expect your car to work without servicing it at least once a year. Yes. Properties need servicing.
They need servicing, and it's all small things, but it's everything that you're doing to maintain the property, to make sure that over the course of 5-10 years, however long you hold it, you've made sure that the servicing, like a car, that it's not falling apart. So, yeah.
Is there any final message you want to leave people with? Hard question.
So many things. There's so many things. I would invest in Melbourne, really. We love our investors in Melbourne, and there's so much goodness coming out of Melbourne at the moment in the way of new developments and so many offerings as well for investors. So, and even too, if you're thinking about investing, just call me.
Awesome.
Ask me a question. Ask me how it's going. Like, we really want to have relationships with our clients.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for your time, Brooke. Have a good one.
Thanks.